Thank you, Sebastian, for your contribution. Now let's turn to Brendan.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Brendan.
Hey, so my name is Brendan, and I am a podcast addict.
Hello,
Brendan. I started listening in 2007. I worked in construction, so I'd plug my ears with noise-isolating earbuds and listen to music or podcasts. Eventually, that changed to just podcasts. The podcasters became my friends, always in my head, talking to me dependably, with kind, thoughtful, and funny stories. Early on, it was Twit and the Laporte shows, MacBreak Weekly, This Week in Tech. I devoured all of the top podcasts everyone's heard, like This American Life, Freakonomics, all the NPR shows, The Moth. Being pretty heavy into tech, my favorite podcasts were shows on 5x5, like Hypercritical and Build and Analyze, and shows on 70 decibels, like Enough, Bionic, and 512 Pixels. I started to dig deeper to find more unique voices, like Doug Loves Movies, The Thrilling Adventure Hour, and Mike and Tom Eat Snacks. It changed for me, though, not in an instant, but gradually, without really noticing. In 2011, Paul Gilmartin started the Mental Illness Happy Hour and talked with celebrities and listeners about the struggles they had with themselves and their families. And in 2012, Dan Harmon started Harmontown, revealing himself and using the audio platform as a 2-hour confessional, relationship therapy, and emotional safe place for himself and the audience. These 2 shows encouraged listener participation, and I felt less alone. Before then, podcasts were a way to pass the time and be entertained. But after then, I grew to see the podcasters as my friends and relied on their companionship. I became obsessed. I became addicted. I actively listen to almost 100 podcast subscription feeds, not including the shows I try for an episode or two just to see if I'll add them to my daily listen. I listen to about 22 episodes a day, catching up on the news, laughing with friends, and relating other people's lives to my own. So, it's been almost a decade, and podcasts are now a part of me. Thanks for listening to my story.
Thanks, Brendan. Who else would like to share?
Please share your podcast story on Twitter. I'm at @thepodplaylist. Or record an audio message and email thepodcastplaylist@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on the post at podcastplayl.ist and see the show notes. I can't respond to all feedback, but I will read everyone, and some may be selected to be read or played on the show. Podcast Playlist will cover one theme each season of the show in a short format, aiming for under 15 minutes, highlighting one podcast per episode that may interest you. For the first episode, I'm breaking that format and just talking about S-Town, the spin-off of Serial and This American Life, and that should drop in 2 weeks. After that, my first season will cover politics. Look for that in about a month. Please subscribe to this feed. You can find the show in iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, or your podcast app of choice. And also, reach out on Twitter. I'm at @thepodplaylist, facebook.com/podcastplaylist, or patreon.com/podcastplaylist for special episodes and extras. Thanks for your time. Happy listening. Peace.
Podcast Playlist.